Oh man. So today I'm going to be changing the fuel pump in Brexit because, well, many reasons. This one whines pretty bad. This engine makes like 400 horsepower and it's on the original 318i pump, and I have a fuel pump. So the process is pretty similar to a regular E30 coupe or sedan. However, the E30 wagon has this bar sitting over the top of it, which is what the tilt-up rear seat's attached to. All you have to do is take out the little set screws. There are 4 of them, and it just slides right forward. So, fuel pump. Usual standard affair, power, level sensor, 4 8mm with washers, and then 2 hose clamps. After you've got those off, I usually get 2 flat blade screwdrivers and pin one right there and one right there, and actually use the shafts. I'll show you, but use the shafts together to actually spin the fuel pump module anti-clockwise about 5 degrees, and then you'll be able to pull it up and out. So with the 8 mils out, there is a seal on the bottom of your level sender. It's probably pretty flattened, but go ahead and pull that out. It will drain fuel, so just be ready to get that out of here. It actually has a date on it. Looks like it might have been replaced once before. I'll have to take a look at that once it's in the vise. But what I meant on the screwdrivers is you put one on the little lip right here, and then you put another in the lip right here, and you actually cross the shafts of the screwdrivers together, and you can leverage them that way. It'll look something like that, except cross the other way around, so you can actually use the force together to spin the pump out. That's the best way I found to do it. Doesn't damage anything. I don't know, works pretty well for me. Well, that was very, very easy indeed. Interesting, noteworthy thing on this Euro 318 wagon, it does not run a US 318 pump. The US late model 318 pump for the M42 has a larger return on the top and a pressure fitting like this. This is a regular old 325i pump in the States. And what does that say? I'll have to clean it off. I can't quite read the date. But there's our stock carrier. So the part number of this pump is Bosch 058453019. Made in USA, oddly, so very unlikely. Well, actually, this car was in Wales before, so that's funny that this pump was made in the United States, shipped overseas, and then the car was shipped back with it a little bit later. Definitely not original. Looking at it some more, I would guess this was replaced in the mid-2000s. Like I said, the pump was noisy, though, so I'm ready to get rid of it. I'm going to be pulling off the filter sock, just like that. Then I'll be, since I don't have my soldering set down here, I'll just be clipping these wires. And then this is actually just kind of a press-on fuel delivery fitting for the pump. So you compress it just enough to slide the bottom out of the carrier and then out, and then that'll disconnect. And then, hey presto, got room for the new pump. So, just like that, nice and easy. I'm going to bag this with the filter sock and everything, because it does still work. So, here's my replacement kit. This is just an off-the-shelf, regular old AEM high pressure. I think this is a, 340, so this is massively overrated for what I need. It's only rated at 40 PSI, but it's certainly able to do higher. And this is not an M engine, really. I mean, it is, but it isn't, so it should be just fine. This engine runs 45 PSI fuel pressure, so if I was running this on an E30 M3, wherever it is, not even in here, with a S54, those run at 90 PSI, so it's a little bit different, but you can see this pump is much, much shorter, so we would not be able to use the original fuel delivery fitting anyway. So luckily it does come with a little bit of hose. It comes with hose clamps and I really do actually want to solder those terminals, so I might elect to hold off on this project. For you, it won't take any time at all. For me, it'll involve a trip home and back. Pardon me, to actually solder the AEM connector onto there, which I believe is universal for Walbro, which probably even makes this pump for AEM. Either that or Aeromotive, but it'll give you flexibility to change out the pump much more easily in the future too, which is super cool. Filter sock, pretty cool. And then it also comes with a little lock washer to stick it on there permanently. So really nice little pump kit. I don't remember what I paid for this. I've had it for years. Bought it for Brexit. I even bought a couple aftermarket high flow fuel system pump thing. I don't know. Even the little Chinese pumps look super impressive these days. I think this one's a 255. But even a pump like this, honestly, it runs the same power connector, and this would be better than the equivalent stock unit for sure, especially for boost. Not necessarily for reliability long term, but it'll be better with ethanol fuels for sure, and definitely higher pressure and fuel flow rating. So you can consider something like this too if it's just an in-town car. Since I'm wanting Brexit to be reliable for road trips, I'm going to throw a name brand pump in it with the AEM, but again, you've got options. Ah, shoot, I did a few steps, sorry. So I sleeved the pump with a little foam sleeve that it came with. Got the little circlip on there. That was pretty easy. I'm going to zip tie around it once I pull it out of the vise. I did cut a small piece of the hose it came with. There's still more. I slid it onto the brass pipe first just because I can get it quite a bit further up, and then slid it back down. Now I'm just going to loosen these two hose clamps, get those on there, get it nice and clamped down, and then it'll be ready to install back in the Brexit. Oh baby, doing crimps, whatever. Nice. Stock. Hit. Where did I put the keys? Oh no. Oh, there they are. Well, primed. It works. Afternoon, guys. I'm down here again on a, God, it's already 84 degrees and a lake of humidity, but I'm actually going to move the Z8 over to the lift for the first time because my performance brace finally showed up, and I'll be taking it on a little bit of a road trip with my dad, of all people, in about a week and a half. So I want to get the performance brace and the reinforcements in before it gets driven in any substantial fashion. And that's going to involve moving some stuff. And by stuff, I of course mean E30s. And by E30s, I mean Brexit and the IS down to the other garage, just so I've got space to get this thing on here. Yippee. So I just did the fuel pump on Brexit. It didn't need it. I wasn't running into any drivability issues with the old pump, except for the fact it was running out of fuel when I had it set on 12 pounds of boost. Oh, whoops. Leave the vice grips here. See if I can switch this out. Those are much more useful here than they are anywhere else. The interior looks just amazing in this car after the little detail, so I do need to adjust my seat a bit. Alright, that's good. And I threw a dash cam in here too, so yeah. Always fires right up. This car does have that UUC segmented Kevlar clutch in it, so it's not the easiest thing in the entire world to pilot around. But it does have tolerable manners. Hey, the boost gauge actually works now. It's been a while. I'm actually going to let it idle for a second. I want to hit boost once while we drive it down there, so give me a sec. Alright. Nice. God, this thing's ridiculous. And finally, the main event. I've noticed that the factory hood struts appear to be working now that I've exercised them a little bit. So that's pretty cool. This car, I don't know how it has 40,000 miles on it. It was never driven. Such a cool machine. Being deliberately extra careful about everything since it's worth more than my house. Well, worth more than I paid for my house. I did put a ZHP shift knob on it. I know it's blasphemous, but we're actually going to drive it. So I'll keep the original naturally. Not driving into the screen. So the age-old question, does the Z8 have a limited slip differential? People said it did. I said it didn't. That's pretty conclusive. The Z8 uses an open version of that diff. So maybe someday I'd consider putting an LSD in this, but it really doesn't matter. It's a Grand Touring car. I haven't actually been able to find out if these were gray from the factory. It looks like paint. It doesn't look like powder coat. It looks actually really nice. I like it, but not normal. You can see the riveted, bonded aluminum structure of the car. I've actually never been under a Z8 before. Not surprisingly, I'm sure. I'm just gonna snap a few photos. Sorry for my herky-jerky video, but luckily this device allows me to snap photos while I do video. So anyway, everything looks, silly hockey puck, everything looks pretty great. That's what I mean about the gray. You can tell they are not raw cast. I'm hoping when I drop the front, I'll obviously have to pull off the level senders, that I'll be able to get those reinforcement plates between the top mounts and the strut hats without doing anything too crazy. Looks like we do have a little bit of an oil leak here. I'll have to figure out what that is. That's a bummer. Yeah, I'll have to pull off the under panel to figure out what the oil leak is. Definitely can't have this thing dripping, so. Anyway, that is what the bottom side of a Z8 looks like. Most of the work I'm going to be doing is top side with the performance brace, but still worth taking a look down here. So the performance brace essentially bolts in between the frame rail and the airbox. So I'm going to go ahead and rip the airboxes out of this thing as the first step. And then we'll kind of see what we're working with. This will involve drilling holes in the car, which I'm continuously uneasy about, but it's just a car. We'll get through it. So I'm going to grab my 6 mil, pull the tubes off, pull the MAF plugs out, tops of the airbox, then we'll pull the bottoms out, and then we'll see what kind of space we're working with. The filters are oddly dirty, all things considered, so I'll probably be replacing those. Looks like we have a 10 mil right back here, one right here, and I'd say it's pretty likely we have one up here, but it's entirely possible. It just pressure fits up into the fender, so I'll rip those two out and see what we're working with. But yeah, pretty M5-like up here otherwise. Unfortunately, I've got to squeeze my camera down here in a weird angle to show you guys, but there is another fastener right there. So lower middle of the screen. Well designed. So you got to pull the fender liner. The airbox just disconnects down here, tilts up and drops out. So you don't actually have to pull the airbox. You can see the little isolator that the front of it mounts on right there. I will tighten the headlight mount back up because I don't want to mess with anything I don't have to. But yeah, now I have to do this to the other side, and then that gives us access to this surface up here, which is what we drill. Yikes. Dang, look at all that space. Neat. I guess I'll test fit it and see where I gotta make the holes. Oof. Well, luckily there's no room for interpretation on this. I guess I'll mark the holes where it needs to go. It probably does have to come up a little bit, but honestly it looks pretty good right where it is. So now I'm gonna see what size hole these rib nuts need. I do have my M8 unit on my rib nut gun. It looks like it will fit in the car too. I will have to pull the headlights unfortunately, but worth doing. So I make a hole, step down until I get that to fit. We'll figure out what size. I'll sacrifice one of these probably just to make sure they crimp okay. And then we'll start drilling into the car. So I marked the step drill. The point of no return fits right in, so I'm going to try to compress this rib nut and we'll see what happens. Strunk AF. Looks good. I'm going to grab one of the pieces of hardware it came with and make sure it threads okay. This is going to be nerve-wracking, not going to lie. Beautiful. this fastener, move the clip all the way back, and then there's another right there on the bottom side. Then they just slide out and up. Time to make some holes. Pilot holes are drilled. Time to step them up. This is unbelievably nerve-wracking. Well, I'm still completely terrified, but all three look awesome. So I guess it's time to do the other side. You're probably asking, why is the middle one a different color or whatever? The parts list for this job says 4, and there's room for 6. So I'm installing 6. I have a nutsert kit, so I'm just using a different brand of nutsert for the middle on both sides, and yeah, should be fine. Next up, I'm gonna mount this up, put the hardware in it on this side, just make sure it lines up over there. But man, like I said, nerve-wracking. Perfect. So the top mount reinforcements, pulled off the upper 13s, dropped the rotor down on a jack. You're able to easily slip the plate up on top and get it back in. The wide end faces out, and then simply tighten these back down just until they are flush with the top of the stud. So the Z8's all done. I did plugs on it too, actually, but it reminded me I need to pull the ABS pump assembly module thing out of the M5 because I'm having pre-charge pump codes, and the pre-charge pump is fine. Oh no. Oh no, it's smaller. And I walk down here with all of these tools. Shoot. That is infuriating that has to be pulled out to unscrew this thing. But I'm pretty sure this has an internal fault. They are really commonly faulty. Also, I'm noticing it looks like some brake fluid spilled down here at some point, or this has had some minor collision damage repair, because there's some rust down there. So I will have to pull this stock zip tie, pull this out and take a look, make sure nothing's too crazy down there. Good car though. I do like the M5. I just want the DSC light to be off finally. The genuine Z8 dust on the ground. So yeah, I did the performance brace. That's in. The air filters look pretty gross, so I ordered some new ones of those. I also ordered the 2 top nuts. So the nutserts are in, the lower 4 nuts are in, but for whatever reason, the parts list doesn't say to order 6 of them. So anyway, I also did spark plugs on it. This engine had these there's no excuse for this shit. Most BMWs in this era were shipped with these plugs. The coils were not engineered with these in mind, and they suck. So I put some regular old NGK Platinum, or actually Iridiums in this thing. Platinums are how I like to keep it. M engines, you can even go copper if you want. Just change them out pretty often. But anyway, new plugs. Like I said, just waiting on filters. Throw that back together. After that, I'll probably just do fluids on it. But it's really solid. It's a nice car, as it should be, I guess. But yeah, like I said, little road trip in about a week and a half. So I just want to make sure it's nice and solid.